it's 1 p.m. Welcome to the Lunch News. My name is Karen Dodu.
I'm Nanadwa Ntia Hagen.
Coming up.
There will therefore be no Easter convention, Easter picnics, parties, or gatherings at the beaches,
as COVID-19 still remains a threat.
And also to come, 3 die in separate road accidents in the eastern region ahead of Easter celebrations. Meanwhile,
let us help them in this endeavor by minimizing our speed, taking due precaution for other road users.
President urges drivers to minimize speed this Easter to reduce occurrence of road accidents.
Also to come,
we are dealing with all these back. It is not a nationwide thing.
Ghana Grid Company assures intermittent power supply to only affected parts of Accra and Winneba.
And much later in African news, 3 killed in attack on Nigerian ex-bank governor, Professor Charles Soludo.
All these stories and more over the next 30 minutes. You're listening to Lunch News on Asaase Radio 99.5 megahertz, bringing you the voice of our land. We're also live on our sister station, Asaase Radio in Kumasi, 1 to 3 FM in Tamale, on our affiliate Stone City Radio in Ho, Mining City Radio in Takwa, and across the globe on Facebook at Asaase Radio 995. Grateful for your time here on the Lunch News. Now to the details of our stories. President Akufo-Addo has asked Ghanaians to endure yet another quiet Easter despite the improvements in the country's COVID-19 situation. The president made these remarks while delivering his Easter message to the nation. Now, this will be the second
no
time.
Easter convention, Easter picnics, parties, or gatherings at the beaches. Church services must be held for a maximum of 2 hours. The requisite social distancing rules must be strictly obeyed. Nightclubs, cinemas and pubs continue to be closed. Funerals, concerts, theatrical performances and parties are banned. Private burials with no more than 25 people can take place with the enforcement of the social distancing, hygiene and mask wearing protocol. Spectators are still banned from going to the stadia to watch football matches. The police service will ensure strict conformity to these restrictions, and anyone found to be flouting them will be dealt with in accordance with law. Let us be each other's keeper until COVID-19 is eradicated.
The president also urged drivers to take due protection and caution to reduce the occurrence of road accidents.
Year in, year out, accidents on our roads have been tragically a part of the celebration of Easter. This year, we must do everything possible to reduce its occurrence to the barest minimum. The Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Police Service has reiterated its determination to enforce the road traffic laws and regulations. And it is my hope that this Easter will be celebrated without any road accident. Let us help them in this endeavor by minimizing our speed, taking due precaution for other road users, driving without the influence of alcohol, and wearing our seatbelts. Like we have done with the COVID-19 safety protocol, our families and nation.
And you have President Akufo-Addo. Now, Easter celebrations across the world is usually characterized by a lot of activities such as traveling and merrymaking. But will this year's celebration be the same? Well, Asaase News decided to visit some popular bus terminals. And we want to start in the eastern region, particularly Kwewu, which is believed to be the center of Easter celebrations, to find out whether or not travelers are still commuting to the place despite the ban on celebrations. And our correspondent John Atefa joins us live on the phone with more details. Hello, John.
Fine.
Hello, John. John Atefa. Hello, John.
Yeah, hello.
John, so what is the mood there like? We know Kwewu and Easter is a big deal there, but then the celebrations have been banned this year. What is the mood like? Are people still traveling to the town?
Karen, good afternoon. The mood here is that most people are not traveling. Those who are traveling are the senior high school students who are on vacation, or they have been given them some break to go home and celebrate the Easter festivities. But as compared to last 2 years when the Kwewu festivities were in session, when people will be traveling, the stations by now will be full. we don't see it like that. This time around, we don't have much cars at the station. There are long queues here, but they are mostly student secretaries. And I've been speaking to him, and he will tell us what is really happening. Boss, good afternoon. So what is the situation now? Are people traveling for the Easter, or it's only the senior high school students? And why is that you don't have cars here at the station? I'm for now, I'm a fan, you know. I'm a cast, no, I shot to work a crab. If I don't want to use 2 for no, you started there. I'm a passengers, no, after that, mother's way, 2 for an air for the door. And now I have to get shortage now by any cars. Okay, so, Karen, after you heard the Pluto secretary, it's mainly the senior high school students who are going, and they are long queues. And I'm being told most of the cars have been stuck in Accra and Kumasi, and they are not coming back to Koforidua. That is why they are long queues here.
And how are the businesses reacting to this? This is the second year in a row that Kwewu is going to be affected. What is their reaction?
The reaction, as you know, is not as good as they presume. Okay, and mostly today is a Thursday. It's a market day in Koforidua. So for them, it's the normal market days we have in Koforidua. That is what no other additional businesses coming in as it used to be 2 years ago when people will buy things from here and send to Ko. But this time around, it's the normal Thursday market day.
Correspondent John Atefa, but let's stay a little longer in the eastern region and on matters in that region. Now, 2 of them died when a motorcycle on which they were riding was hit by a man-diesel timber truck with registration number GW7424V. The 2, Yajman 36 and Kweku Dominic 37, according to a statement by the Eastern Regional Police PRO Sergeant Francis Gomado, were among a group of people transporting a dead person from the Achim Mamanso mortuary to Akokwaso and were displaying on their motorcycle when they crashed into the timber truck and met the untimely death. Now, the 3rd person, a tricycle driver, met his death also on Wednesday after jumping red light and was hit by a Ford Escape. Now, the suspected driver, Ebenezer Opare, who is 22, was driving an unregistered Ford Escape 4x4 vehicle from Koforidua Polytechnic Junction and towards the Abrewa Nkwanta on the dual carriageway in Koforidua, and alleged that the rider, Francis Bauer, who was riding the tricycle with registration number M21AR475, jammed the traffic light and then hit him in the process. The rider sustained injury as a result and was rushed to the Eastern Regional Hospital for treatment, but was pronounced dead on arrival. Now, still on the Easter celebrations, let's now go live to the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, a popular area for several bus terminals, and find out if people in Accra are also traveling for the Easter celebrations. And my colleague Philippa Tanga joins us on the phone. She's been doing some checks and has more details for us. Hello, Philippa.
Hi, Karen.
So what have you gathered so far?
Yeah, Karen, at the VIP station right now, VIP in and out of the bus terminal, but there are lots of empty buses, which is a clear indication that a lot of people are not traveling yet. But at the VIP parcel office, I can see a lot of people gathered at that particular site. And the interaction I had with a few people earlier tells me that they are either sending parcels to loved ones or rather receiving, but not traveling yet.
But then, have you spoken to some of these people who are traveling and whether or not their travel is related to the Easter celebrations in any way?
Right. 2 women I spoke to earlier said they came to Accra to buy things for their shop. So it is not about Easter, but rather about their business. They are not traveling today because of Easter. They live in Kumasi. They came to Accra to shop, but it is not for Easter. So they are traveling now, but they are not traveling to Kumasi because of Easter. That's where they are.
Reporting live from the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, gauging the mood of travelers ahead of the Easter celebration.
Ghana Bread Company says it has no plan of embarking on a nationwide load shedding. The company says it is currently carrying out key projects to enhance power supply across the country. According to Gradeco, contractors working on their system are aiming at full-scale completion between the months of June and July this year. year. Therefore, at some point during the process, the contractors will need to interconnect to the current transmission system. For this to happen, intermittent power outages would be required at different periods to safely connect to new installations. Consequently, these outages are not nationwide and will affect only parts of Accra and Winneba.
We have to be sure, because you cannot go and take off power and do nothing. We have to be sure of the time and the extent. So we are liaising with the contractors, not only the contractors. ECG is also involved. MIDA, who is the project funding agency, is also involved. We are dealing with all these people to come up with a comprehensive timetable. And this timetable, as we said, is only for Accra and Winneba. It is not a nationwide thing. It is only for Accra and Winneba. Let's get that right, so that we don't go and say that there's a national timetable for load shedding or dooms or whatever it is. That is not the case. This is the timetable which they are asking for outages in order to complete the works for the system to be resilient, so that we wouldn't have the intermittent outages that we are having.
The power generator has also debunked claims that the intermittent power outages is as a result of debts in the energy sector.
We have funds enough to undertake routine maintenance, emergency maintenance, but then for bigger projects, that one we require external funding. And that is why we are waiting on the Ministry of Finance to give us the go-ahead for the projects that we intend to embark on that have been stated in the budget for 2021. The ones that we are undertaking, like the Tema to Achimota to Malam 1, the Kaswa and the Pokwase 1, we have secured the fundings already. That is why the projects are ongoing.
And that was the Chief Executive Officer of GREDCO, Engineer Jonathan Amakuba.
Let's do some politics now, because political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Dr. Mohammed Abbas, says the National Democratic Congress has to internally address the current tension in the party. This comes after the recent resignation of Member of Parliament for North Tong, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, leading to some speculations the minority members of the Appointment Committee of Parliament may not. On the Asaase breakfast show, Dr. Abbas reiterated that the outcome may be chaotic if matters are not resolved in the NDC.
It's a crisis that has, I think, reached a significant level where it needs an urgent and effective attention to actually arrest it. Other than that, going forward, they are going to be dealing with even a crisis at a much bigger level than they are facing currently. So clearly, things are not going on well within the party, and it is time for them to actually sit down. And I think that is the point. Know that this calls for a democratic, ways of resolving issue, because
Dr. Mohammed Abbas added that the work of members of parliament is to promote national interest and not the interest of political parties.
The party is a public entity. The members of the party are Ghanaians. In the interest of Ghana, that the room has been created for all these arrangements. Parliament is an independent institution, and representatives are supposed to act independently. Where party comes in is you provide the national level parliament to worthy representatives who are rational, mature, serious, and independent-minded enough to decide, knowing where they are coming from, what will be in the national interest. So it's a fallacy to think that because they have been voted by the supporters who are Ghanaians and part of Ghana and whose interest should be served as part of the national interest, the members go there and do things according to how the party wants it over there. No, that is wrong.
And that was political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Dr. Mohammed Abbas. Meanwhile, the National Democratic Congress has assured all its members that all details of the statements from the party.
The leadership of the National Democratic Congress has held a meeting with the Council of Elders of the party and the entire parliamentary caucus in the aftermath of the disquiet and misgivings that characterized the approval of the ministerial nominees of President Akufo-Addo. The meeting was conducted in a healthy atmosphere in which the concerns of the teaming members and supporters were adequately ventilated and addressed. Accordingly, the leadership of the party wishes to assure all and sundry that the matters that have provoked public commentary have been dealt with in a manner that will promote and strengthen the cohesion of the party and all its organs. We call on all to assure them on the need to put party unity over and above all interests so that together we can hold the Akufo-Addo government to account even as we take measures to develop strategies towards the next general elections.
And we're still staying with the National Democratic Congress, and former Central Regional Chairman of the party, Bernard Alote Jacobs, is accusing the party of hiring assassins to take his life. Alote Jacobs in the past weeks has been at the crossroads with the NDC over his decision to laud the achievement of the Akufo-Addo-led administration at the displeasure of his former party. The party finally responded by dismissing him from the party. According to the dismissed former Central Regional Chairman, he is reliably informed that some assassins have been detailed to eliminate him. He has therefore urged Ghanaians to look no further than the NDC should anything happens to him.
Yesterday night, when I had come up from Asaase, I realized there were a lot of motorbikes parked above size just away from multimedia. Immediately my car moved, I saw these motorbikes also following me. But in a Land Cruiser, motorbike cannot stand the speed of a Land Cruiser. So I have to veer from one place to another, knowing I car very well. But then they were following me until I get to a point. I said, no, from this angle you get to a close. So from that close, you can move to either your left or your right, and then you can even dodge those guys. So that's how I go home, instead of coming to Cape Coast. Then early dawn, I moved from Cape Coast, ran about 3, 4 something, then got home. But in the course of going, I had this call from a very respected, reliable person. I won't mention his name and his office, but the person told me that, look, assassins have been sent by NDC to kill you, and they are in Cape Coast right now.
And you heard the former Central Regional Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Bernard Alote Jacobs.
I have a conscience and I will not allow my conscience to be defiled. Now, these are the words of editor of the Informer newspaper, Andy Kankam, to persons threatening his life over his comments about the NDC. Now, the journalist has been very vocal on issues of the party and says some members of the party are unhappy about this comment, but he is unperturbed about the development because the success of the party and Ghana as a country is his topmost priority.
In a space of 1 month, this is the 4th time I'm receiving such intel. And as somebody who is in the intelligence industry, I don't joke with intel. 4 weeks ago, it came up, so I have to sought the assistance of the police in protecting my house and being careful of my movement. I'm sad that this, from my briefing, is internally orchestrated. Mind you, I'm a bona fide member of the NDC. I don't hide it at all. But that doesn't mean that when things are not going right in the party, I shouldn't speak to it. I have a conscience, and I will not allow my conscience to be defiled. I simply not to get what they are up to. That's why we shouldn't speak the truth. And if that is why they think that they can assassinate some of us, kill some of us, I mean, I'll leave it to God, but I am protected by the blood of Jesus.
And now, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin says the House needs to work hard to purge the shameful events that characterized the inauguration of the 8th Parliament. He also says the uniqueness of the House has raised the level of expectation by Ghanaians to discharge its functions effectively. The Speaker made a comment in a review of the first meeting of the 8th Parliament as it embarked on recess. There is more in the following report by our parliamentary correspondent Philip Asiao.
The 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic is currently on a 4-week recess and is expected to reconvene for the second meeting of the 8th Parliament on Tuesday, 4th May 2021. The House raised against time to meet the timeline of the approval of the Appropriations Bill after its adoption of the 2021 budget statement. Given the timeline for the first quarter amidst the surge in coronavirus infections by members of Parliament and staff, Many analysts have lauded the House for striving to promptly meet its obligations. Prior to the House adjourning Sinedi, Speaker Alban Bagbin underscored the need for the House to uphold its integrity.
It has become a block in the institution of Parliament. Remove that block and re-establish the integrity of the House. Beyond the events of 7 January, you will agree with me that a lot more has to be done to strengthen the dignity.
Leader of Government's Business, Asaase Mensah Bonsu, has had his fair share of banters with Speaker Alban Bagbin. However, in his review of the first meeting, he assures that he is fully committed to protecting the image of the Speaker and also strengthening the operations of the House.
We must all join ranks to protect the speakership. Even if I did your ruling wrong, I think the proper forum for me is to come to you, but not to formally challenge. If I challenge and the speaker loses us, I'll bring the image of the speakership down, and that will be helpful to Parliament.
For Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, a new standing orders by the House should be the unique factor from previous parliaments.
Our collective regrets, both the Speaker, the Majority Leader and myself, is our inability to have passed the revised, reformed standing orders. Many of you are still doubting. Yes, we have a parliament which is a hung parliament.
And that was a report by our parliamentary correspondent, Philip Asiao. Now, the Asante Henyo Tumfo said to the second has called on the Korean government to bring its rich expertise in the area of technology and financial resources to bear on Ghana. He made this call when the Korean ambassador to Ghana, Lim Jung-taek, paid a courtesy call on him at the Minsha Palace in Kumasi on Wednesday. The Asante monarch in his welcome address also reminded the ambassador to help bring the Buankra Integrated Logistic Terminal project to fruition.
Even though you are representing your country, I would still say that you should be an ambassador for us, attracting investments to Ghana and then Ashanti in particular. I know that we have the Buankra Inland Port, the Korea's name associated. So the impression given to me is that there are Korean investors coming in. I think I'm getting the signals and I'm not sure. And therefore I implore you to please further let us know exactly what the Korean government or company can do for us. Then haven't cut the sword. And if the finances are not ready as we feel they should be, because we saw some Korean investors who were presented to us when we were cutting the sword. So we believe that once Korea is involved, it means we are going to get the inland port. Therefore,
the Korean ambassador on his part said his government is committed to strengthening the diplomatic relationship that has existed since 1977.
I want to make a courtesy call on the Ashanti Hene. So that's the reason why I came here today. Korea established diplomatic relationship 1977. So since then, we regard Ghana is a very important country in our relationship with Africa. So my government placed the great importance in promoting relationship with Ghana. Is one of the priority partners in development cooperation. So we have many development related agencies and some other the public organization who are in charge of the development cooperation. Ghana is kind of a gateway for Korea to the African continent.
And that was Korean ambassador to Ghana, Lim Jung-taek.
It's now time for sports, and we join Benedict Usu with the details.
Yes, good afternoon, guys. Now, one of my four Mighty Royals have been charged on 6 counts of misconduct in relation to their Division 1 League match against Bafakatano at the 1 Camp Park. Now, an official of the club, Daniel Asante, and assistant coach Stephen Gura have both been charged on 4 counts of misconduct in relation to the same match where the officials were assaulted. Now, the club and officials are expected to submit their statement of defense or appear in person before the GFA disciplinary committee. We'll definitely follow this and bring you more in our subsequent sports bulletins. But many have lauded the Ghana Football Association for this move, especially bringing the officials that were assaulted after the game to Accra to receive medical attention, and also having taken this decision. So we'll monitor this keenly and bring you more in our subsequent sports bulletins. But away from that, former Asante Kotoko Steve Pollack has called on the club to give new manager Mariano Barreto time to work.
Well, first of all, we all have opinions about coaches and I think basically when you bring a coach in, you have to give him time to settle in, and I think sometimes clubs around the world, not only in Ghana, they don't give the coach enough time to settle in and to get his ideas across. In today's game compared to 20, 30 years ago, it's about results. It's a results business, and if you're not getting results, then they move the coaches on. So hopefully this coach that's coming now into Kotoko, he gets the time to get his ideas across, and hopefully he's going to be there a long time. But as you've seen the last five years or so, they've had that many coaches, so let's see. Hopefully he does stay there for a while.
So that was Steve Pollack, former coach of Asante Kotoko. That's sports.
Thank you very much, Benedict. So now is the 1st of April, and April Fool's Day jokes are all over social media, with some news website publishing fake news. Companies have also made announcements to prank people online. But have you been pranked today? Well, today we hit the street to ask our listeners, what has been the biggest prank ever?
Mine was way back in JHS. It was a Friday morning, and my RME teacher told me I was being called at the staff common room by my maths teacher. And back then, when you're called at the staff common room, meaning you are in trouble. But I didn't know what to have done. So I mastered courage and I went there. When I went there, the teacher that told me I was being called, plus the teacher that was supposed to talk to me at the staff common room, none of them were there. They were different teachers. So later on did I know that when I was going, then he and the other teachers, they were laughing at me and they were saying it's April Fool.
I was at the office and my brother called me, that is in our hometown, at the Eastern region. Hey, what is up? I said, sister, come. Can I say, problem, come. I said, I asked my brother, I said, you have to take a car and come. I don't even go home. And I took a car straight to Eastern region, not knowing it was April Fool.
And you heard that some people sharing their experience with April Fool pranks. Aja, have you been pranked today?
Not that I remember, but I remember a very terrible story in the Western region where people were told that police were doing a recruitment. So people gathered at the Sekendis Jendu Park. Trust me, it was a very terrible day for a lot of people.
I can imagine.
Potential policemen. Well, let's now take some stories from across the continent. And gunmen have attacked the former head of Nigeria's central bank, Professor Charles Soludo, killing 3 policemen guarding him. The attack was at a campaign rally organized by Professor Soludo, who is now running to become the governor of his native Anambra state in southeastern Nigeria. Eyewitnesses said the gunmen stormed a Sophia Community Town Hall, the venue of the rally, and opened fire on the gathering. 3 policemen were gunned down while a close aide of the aspirant was abducted. The police in Anambra State confirmed the attack. It is not yet clear if his party or if there has any particular connection to the election campaigning or coming up in November. In the last 3 months, more than 15 policemen have been killed in southeast Nigeria following attacks by suspected criminal gangs. In some of the attacks, police stations were burnt down and guns and ammunition carted away.
And that'll be all for the lunch news here on Asaase Radio. A recap of our headlines. President Akufo-Addo asked Ghanaians to endure yet another quiet Easter as COVID-19 still remains a threat.
3 die in separate road accidents in eastern region ahead of Easter celebrations. Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo is urging drivers to minimize speed this Easter to reduce occurrence of road accidents.
Many thanks for your time. There's more news on AsaseRadio.com. My name is Karen Dodu.
And I'm Nanajwa Intiahagan.
Good afternoon.
Join Prince Moses on Asaase Business